Hello friends, welcome to JavaEE Servlet series. In this video, we are going to look at form processing. That means we'll process the user input inside the Servlet doGet and doPost method. So the inputs will be coming from HTML form. Let's say we have a web server and the vendor is Wildfly, and we are going to create servlet in this example, and that servlet will take care of user input from a HTML form. So let's say the web browser is having a HTML form. User will fill data here, then let's say they will click the submit button. So once they click submit button, the data can go to server in two methods. So one is a post method and another one is a get method. So these are all two way of sending data from web browser to the web server. So here web server Wildfly, with the help of Servlet, we can process those post and get method. So after the processing is done, it will respond back to the web browser, and browser will make use of the incoming HTML and renders that in the web browser. So let's first look at the get method. In the previous slide we saw that the servlet is running in the server, right? Wildfly server. So what we will do, so there will be HTTP in the web URL. So if you see here, this is an example for a GET request. So you can see that in the browser address bar itself. So the HTTP is the protocol, hypertext transfer protocol. Then comes the web server. So here we usually use IP address here for our local machine. We will use a local host here. So usually the web address will be the domain name, like abcd.com, yahoo.com, like that. So that will come here. After that, there will be a web project URL location. Here in our example, we will use this as a web project. So the web project in the previous video, what we created is servlet examples. So that will come here. After that, the actual servlet. So this identifies where is our servlet. So the servlet is in this web project, and this web project is running on this web server, and the HTML form can reach to this web server by using this communication port, and after that it can know which project it needs to contact, then which servlet on that particular project. Then as part of a get method, you can see query string. So there will be a question mark. After that, what you see here is the we call this as in old style, people will call it as a query string. In Java, they call this as a URL parameters. So these URL parameters are visible when we are using the method as a get method to submit the form data. So there is one more method that's called post. So in post, we will not get this URL query string. All we have is a HTTP port number, web project URL address. So the data will be submitted to post, and the data will be available as part of something called request body. So you will not see your data as part of URL parameter that goes as a request body. Then the servlet here, whether it is post or get, can get these form data, and it can process the request. And if you see in the, if it's a URL parameter, we will get a name and value from here itself. Or if it is a form data, we can supply a name and we can get a value associated to it. So this method get parameter is applicable for both get as well as post method. So the get parameter, this will be called from the request object. So let's say that this is a HTML form, and this HTML form is displayed in a browser, and we will say that the HTML input, usually we have to provide a name for the HTML control. The name, let us assume it as uname, and we will assume that, and let us say the name for the password field is password. So both these fields are input text field. Now let us say we are posting this to web server. So the request body will contain the data entered here. Say, for example, let us say the username is. So here we will see the username. So since the method here is post, the data goes as part of request body. So if it were a get method, then you will see this content goes with a query string with a question mark, then username, password, username Abdul, password ABC123, and the URL parameters are separated by a semicolon. Here the data goes with the request body. And if you see here, uname is nothing but the control name. So when we form our input control, we will use the tag name, then we will specify that name as uname. Same goes for the password also. So the uname identifies the control name, then the content entered by the user. Here Abdul is the content entered by the user before he submits the form to the servlet, which is running in the Wildfly application server on the server side. Similarly, let's assume that the user typed the password as password ABC12. So now when we come to the server part, the server is having the servlet which is running inside the Wildfly. So the servlet here gets this parameter using the get parameter name. I mean, the function here is a get parameter. Here we pass a string, right? Say for example, if we pass uname, that means here we are saying, so uname will be string. Here we are saying uname, that means uname is denoted by the control name in the HTML form, and we are asking get parameter for uname, that means what is the value entered by the user in a text box named not even text box, in a HTML form input control named uname. So once we identify what is this, then we will get the value entered here. So the value entered here will be returned to the servlet. So in that case it will be, that's all. So this is the key here. So we use get parameter inside the servlet method. The method can be anything. It can be doGet. So the doGet will receive both the parameter request as well as response. So all the method doGet, doPost and service. All this method gets request and response. Alright, so using the request object, we will make a call to get parameter, and we will get the form field data using the control name. So that will return a value entered in that particular control. So as already told, so if the method is post, we will be processing the request here in the post, and if the method is get, we will be processing it here. But the service method, if you see, this is common for both doGet and doPost. So if you want to have a different implementation for doGet and doPost, then you can override both this method doGet and doPost. So if the implementation is common for both the get method and the post method, then service is the better place to handle the incoming request. So in our example, even though we are going to handle the form input the same way, we will use doGet and doPost so that you can see how the specific method get called. So here actually the request comes to service, then service will check the request, and then it will either make a call to doGet or doPost. So it's up to you. Let's say this is 1, doGet is 2, and doPost is 3. So whether it is get or post, the request first comes to 1. So based on get or post, the service method will route either the request to 2 if it is a get, and 3 if it is a post. So this is the service method. So this will, if the method is get, then it calls the relevant method doGet, and if it is post, method is post, then it will call the post method. So you can override all three methods. So as already told, if the request processing is same for method of posting, whether it is get or post, you can do that in service method. Or if you have different implementation for get and post, that means if data is submitted to Servlet using get method, you want to have a different implementation, and if it is submitted using the post method, and if you want to handle it differently, then you can override both doGet and doPost. Now it is a demo time. We will see demo in the next video. We are stopping here. Thank you for watching. Bye For demo, watch the next video.